Climate of Africa. The climate of Africa is a range of climates such as the equatorial climate, the tropical wet and dry climate, the tropical monsoon climate, the semi-arid climate, the desert climate, the humid subtropical climate, and the subtropical highland climate. Temperate climates are rare across the continent, except at very high elevations and along the fringes. In fact, the climate of Africa is more variable by rainfall amount than by temperatures, which are consistently high. African deserts are the sunniest and the driest parts of the continent, owing to the prevailing presence of the subtropical ridge with subsiding, hot, dry air masses. Africa holds many heat-related records. The continent has the hottest extended region year-round, the areas with the hottest summer climate, the highest sunshine duration, and more. Owing to Africa's position across equatorial and subtropical latitudes in both the northern and southern hemisphere, several different climate types can be found within it. The continent mainly lies within the intertropical zone between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, hence its interesting density of humidity. Precipitation intensity is always high, and it is a hot continent. Warm and hot climates prevail all over Africa, but mostly the northern part is marked by aridity and high temperatures. Only the northernmost and the southernmost fringes of the continent have a Mediterranean climate. The equator runs through the middle of Africa, as do the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, making Africa the most tropical continent in 15,000 BP. The West African monsoon transformed the landscape of Africa and began the Green Sahara period. Greater rainfall during the summer season resulted in the growth of humid conditions, and the savanna in North Africa. Between 5,500 BP and 4,000 BP, the Green Sahara period ended. Cultural history. The culture of Africa is varied and manifold, consisting of a mixture of countries with various tribes depicting their unique characteristic and trait from the continent of Africa. It is a product of the diverse populations that inhabit the continent of Africa and the African diaspora. Generally, culture can be defined as a collective mass of distinctive qualities belonging to a certain group of people. These qualities include laws, morals, beliefs, knowledge, art, customs, and any other attributes belonging to a member of that society. Culture is the way of life of a group of people. Africa has numerous ethnic nationalities, all with varying qualities such as language, dishes, greetings, dressing, dances, and music. However, each of the regions of Africa share a series of dominant cultural traits which distinguish various African regional cultures from each other and the rest of the world. For example, social values, religion, morals, political values, economics, and aesthetic values all contribute to various African cultures. Expressions of culture are abundant within Africa, with large amounts of cultural diversity being found not only across different countries, but also within single countries. Even though within various regions, the cultures are widely diverse, they are also, when closely studied, seen to have many similarities. For example, the morals they uphold, their love and respect for their culture, as well as the strong respect they hold for the aged and the important, i.e., kings and chiefs. Colonial boundaries are reflected in the modern boundaries between contemporary West African states, cutting across ethnic and cultural lines, often dividing single ethnic groups between two or more states. In contrast to most of Central, Southern, and Southeast Africa, West Africa is not populated by Bantu-speaking peoples. West Africa section Early Stone Age, West African populations were considerably mobile and interacted with one another throughout the population history of West Africa. Acheulean tool-using archaic humans may have dwelled throughout West Africa since at least between 780,000 BP and 126,000 BP. During the Pleistocene, Middle Stone Age peoples, who dwelled throughout West Africa between Mis 4 and Mis 2, were gradually replaced by incoming Late Stone Age peoples, who migrated into West Africa as an increase in humid conditions resulted in the subsequent expansion of the West African forest. West African hunter-gatherers occupied western Central Africa earlier than 32,000 BP, dwelled throughout coastal West Africa by 12,000 BP, and migrated northward between 12,000 BP and 8,000 BP as far as Mali, Burkina Faso, and Mauritania. Round-head figure wearing a Barbary sheep-styled mask during the Holocene. Niger-Congo speakers independently created pottery in Ouagadougou, Mali, the earliest pottery in Africa, by at least 9,400 BCE, and along with their pottery, as well as wielding independently invented bows and arrows, migrated into the Central Sahara, which became their primary region of residence by 10,000 BP. The emergence and expansion of ceramics in the Sahara may be linked with the origin of Roundhead and Kel Esif rock art, which occupy rock shelters in the same regions. Hunters in the Central Sahara farmed, stored, and cooked undomesticated Central Saharan flora, underwent domestication of antelope, and domesticated and shepherded Barbary sheep. After the Kel Esif period and Roundhead period of the Central Sahara, the pastoral period followed. Some of the hunter-gatherers who created the Roundhead rock art may have adopted pastoral culture, and others may have not. As a result of increasing aridification of the Green Sahara, Central Saharan hunter-gatherers and cattle herders may have used seasonal waterways as the migratory route taken to the Niger River and Chad Basin of West Africa. In 2000 BCE, Thyroy woman, also known as the Venus of Thyroy, may have been the earliest statuette created in sub-Saharan West Africa. It may have particularly been a fertility statuette created in the region of Senegambia, and may be associated with the emergence of complexly organized pastoral societies in West Africa between 4000 BCE and 1000 BCE, though possibly developed as early as 5000 BCE. Sabiti may have also developed in 2000 BCE, as evidenced by depictions of the West African script on Icom monoliths at Icom in Nigeria. Migration of Saharan peoples south of the Sahelian region resulted in seasonal interaction with and gradual absorption of West African hunter-gatherers, who primarily dwelt in the savannas and forests of West Africa. In West Africa, which may have been a major regional cradle in Africa for the domestication of crops and animals, Niger-Congo speakers domesticated the helmeted guinea fowl between 5,500 BP and 1,300 BP. Domestication of field crops occurred throughout various locations in West Africa, such as yams in the Niger River basin between eastern Ghana and western Nigeria. Various locations in West Africa, such as yams in the Niger River basin between eastern Ghana and western Nigeria, rice in the inner Niger Delta region of Mali, pearl millet in northern Mali and Mauritania, and cowpeas in northern Ghana. After having persisted as late as 1000 BP or some period of time after 1500 CE, remaining West African hunter-gatherers, many of whom dwelt in the forest savanna region, were ultimately acculturated and admixed into the larger groups of West African agriculturalists, akin to the migratory Bantu-speaking agriculturalists and their encounters with Central African hunter-gatherers. Iron Age. Archaeometallurgical scientific knowledge and technological development originated in numerous centers of Africa. The centers of origin were located in West Africa, Central Africa, and East Africa. Consequently, as these origin centers are located within Inner Africa, these archaeometallurgical developments are thus native African technologies. The iron industry, in both smelting and forging for tools and weapons, appeared in West Africa by about 2600 to 1200 BC. Iron smelting facilities in Niger and Nigeria have been radiocarbon dated to 500 to 1000 BC, and more recently in Nigeria from 2000 BC, though there is some uncertainty. Some archaeologists believe that iron metallurgy was developed independently in West Africa. Archaeological sites containing iron smelting furnaces and slag have been excavated at sites in the Nsukka region of southeast Nigeria in what is now Igboland, dating to 2000 BC at the site of Leia, and to 750 BC and at the site of Opi. Iron metallurgy may have been independently developed in the No culture between the 9th century BCE and 550 BCE. More recently, Bandama and Babalola have indicated that iron metallurgical development occurred 2631 BCE, 2458 BCE at Leia in Nigeria, 2136 BCE, 1921 BCE at Obui in Central Africa Republic, 1895 BCE 1370 BCE at Chair Uma, 147 in Niger, and 1297 BCE, 1051 BCE at Dekpasanwer in Togo. The increased use of iron and the spread of iron-working technology led to improved weaponry and enabled farmers to expand agricultural productivity and produce surplus crops, which together supported the growth of urban city-states into empires. By 400 BC, contact had been made with the Mediterranean civilizations, including that of Carthage, and a regular trade in gold conducted with the Saharan Berbers, as noted by Herodotus. The trade was fairly small until the camel was introduced, with Mediterranean goods found in pits as far south as northern Nigeria. A profitable trade had developed by which West Africans exported gold, cotton cloth, metal ornaments, and leather goods north across the trans-Saharan trade routes, in exchange for copper, horses, salt, textiles, and beads. Later, ivory, slaves, and kola nuts were also traded.